I would sit in the class numerous times, and just see how he act with the students. He was just perfect with those children. I mean, I just don't understand it.
Once he kicked in that door and ran in that house with a shotgun in his hand, he's guilty as every last other person in that house. He was kicking in doors at night and children and going and teaching children in the morning.
What happens when the person you trust most, the one you send your child to every day, turns out to be living a dark double life? A man responsible for shaping young minds, teaching multiplication tables, and coaching football on weekends was hiding a secret so sinister it would shake Clayton County, Georgia to its core. This wasn't just a criminal who slipped through the cracks. This was a trusted teacher, Michael Deshaun White, later revealed to be tied to gang violence and implicated in one of the most horrific crimes the community had ever seen. Behind the classroom smile and the whistle on the football field was a man accused of participating in the brutal murders of two innocent siblings, 11-year-old Tatiana Coates and 15-year-old Davion Coates. And here's the chilling truth. This wasn't random. It was gang retaliation, a storm of violence that spilled into the lives of children who had nothing to do with it. The betrayal cut deeper because White wasn't just anyone, he was someone parents trusted with their children's futures. So how does a man go from molding young students to being convicted on 44 counts tied to murder and gang activity? How does a community reconcile the horrifying reality that even the people we trust the most can be hiding a dangerous secret? But before we uncover the chilling evidence that points to the killer of two innocent children, let's rewind to the start of this tragic story. The victims in this heartbreaking case were 11-year-old Tatiana Coates and her 15-year-old brother Davion Coates. On October 22, 2016, the Coates siblings found themselves caught in the crossfire of a gang war they had absolutely no involvement in. Their deaths were a tragic result of a home invasion that escalated into a brutal retaliation killing. Tatiana and Davion were innocent children who were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, victims of circumstances they had no control over.
We've got to change as society and understand that the fight is not when they're in high school or heck, even in middle school. The fight begins the day that they're born.
Born into a loving and close family, Tatiana and Davion had no ties to the dangerous and violent world that was about to collide with their lives. Tatiana, the younger of the two, was just 11 years old, still a child with a whole life ahead of her, full of dreams and potential. Meanwhile, her older brother Davion was in that crucial phase of adolescence. At 15 years old, he was only beginning to carve out his path in the world. He had the bright promise of a future that sadly would never come to pass. They lived with their mother in the Marlboro subdivision in Jonesboro, Georgia, where they were well loved by those who knew them. This is where the tragedy begins to unfold. But what led to this horrifying moment? Tatiana was described by her family as an energetic and joyful child. She had a vibrant personality and was known for her infectious laughter. She was the kind of girl who could add life into any room with her presence. Davion not only showed great promise, he had a bright mind and a heart full of ambition. The siblings, though still young, were known to be kind-hearted with a sense of loyalty and love for their family. Together, they were a picture of innocence and hope until that fateful night. Their mother had opened her home to another family that was struggling with difficult circumstances. She offered them a place to stay, but what she didn't know was that this act of kindness would ultimately have devastating consequences. Among the new family members was 15-year-old DeAndre Mitchell, a teenager with ties to the notorious gang, the Rolling 20 Crips. DeAndre had a troubled past and was deeply involved in the gang's dangerous activities, but his involvement would soon be even darker. He ended up stealing firearms from the gang, unaware that this would set in motion a deadly chain of events. The gang, upon realizing that one of their firearms had been taken, began to hunt for DeAndre. Their thirst for retaliation led them to the Coates family's home, where they mistook the family's residence as the place to exact their violent retribution. On the night of October 22, 2016, the house on Libby Lane became the site of unimaginable violence. The intruders, members of the Rolling 20 Crips gang, barged into the home with the intent to retrieve the stolen guns. DeAndre, knowing the retaliation was coming, had fled the house earlier that night, leaving behind his younger siblings and the Coates children. The gang members forcibly entered the house in the early hours of the morning, guns drawn, looking for DeAndre. They intended to make a violent example of DeAndre, but found no one to retaliate against. In a senseless act of violence, they would make a devastating decision. They shot and killed Tatiana and Davion in cold blood. Two innocent children simply because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Tatiana and Davion Coates were not the intended targets. They were just victims of a gang's thirst for revenge. The gang members, including Michael White, entered the home with no mercy. According to the police, they kicked in the door and started searching for the guns, but when they found no one to target, they killed the children anyway. A surviving child in the home, terrified and traumatized by the violence, was able to call 911. When officers arrived, they found Tatiana and Davion's bodies, lifeless and shot at point-blank range. Several other children were in the home during the attack, ages ranging from 3 to 13, but miraculously they survived. The trauma they witnessed that night would haunt them forever. The parents of these children were out socializing and returned to find their world shattered, learning that their children had been murdered.
Intruders on the run tonight after they murdered two children in Clayton County, according to police.
Yeah, 15-year-old Davion Coates and his 11-year-old sister Tatiana were both in their Jonesboro home over the weekend. Now, Fox 5's Portia Bruner is live in the community where neighbors are on edge tonight. Portia?
Yeah, a lot of nervous folks here in this community. And I can tell you, I just got off the phone with Clayton County Police. They tell me they still don't have a good description of the man or men who ran into this home and opened fire because all the witnesses were so young. We're talking kids as young as 6 to 15, the oldest victim. So they're still trying to put together the description. But they're also working with police in Chattanooga, Tennessee, to determine if a there just yesterday is connected to the crime here that left an 11-year-old and a 15-year-old. Clayton County Sheriff's deputies remain posted near the scene of a heinous crime here on Libby Lane, where worried neighbors like Veronica Harris question why two children were murdered in their own home.
Who want to kill children? I have a son. Who want to kill a child? Why? Why would you do it?
Harris says she just saw the Coates family children Friday after school in front of the home the family moved into just a few weeks ago.
They was out here playing and having fun and just being casual, like a family, you know?
But shortly before dawn Saturday, Clayton County Police say a child called 911 from this Jonesboro home, saying someone had broken into the house and started. 15-year-old Davion Coates and his 11-year-old sister Tatiana were. Police say 4 other siblings were in the home. Their parents, out for a night on the town, were called back to the house by police. Grief counselors were on hand at Mundy's Mill High School and South Point Middle School to help those who knew the 6th and 10th grade siblings. What do you think happened?
I don't know. I don't know. Somebody might knew them, got mad.
One Clayton County police sergeant tells Fox 5 she's pretty sure this brutal crime was not a random attack. But the motive remains unclear since it appears nothing was taken from the home when the armed intruder or intruders fled. Right now, neighbors are just heartbroken and desperate for news of an arrest.
Think if this was your family going through this, your child got for just senselessly like this, just come forward, please.
Taking a live look now here on Libby Lane, you see this Clayton County deputy's vehicle, one of many that have been up and down this block all day long, certainly connected to trying to keep an eye on this house. But I can tell you no one has been at this home. Neighbors say since the crime scene tape was removed from here Saturday and the family left with the last of their children. Now, Chattanooga police are saying that yesterday no one was injured. Someone just into the home, but they do believe that crime is gang related. Clayton County police say they're just trying to connect the dots at this point, say they don't know if the crimes are connected at this point. They say they're, quote, comparing notes. We're reporting live near Jonesboro. Portia Bruner, Fox 5 News.
For over a year, the case went cold. Police had no leads and no suspects. The violence that struck the Coates family remained unsolved, until March 2018, when a shocking arrest was made, an arrest that would ever change the way the community viewed the person they trusted most.
Involved in this are nothing more than punks, cowards, and
Angry words from the Clayton County Police Chief for whoever burst into a home and killed an 11-year-old girl and a 15-year-old boy. Police now say the two kids were not the target of the ambush of a local gang, but became victims caught in the middle of a gang retaliation. Fox 5's Jacqueline Schultz joins us now here in studio. And Jacqueline, are police any closer to catching the in this case?
Well, they're still looking to make some arrests, Tom, but today they did say they found a 15-year-old who may know who did it. Now, police say there were two families living in that home in Clayton County on Libby Lane, and they say one teen living there got a local gang mad. And the chief says what gang members did Saturday morning was supposed to be payback.
it terrifies me, and as a citizen, it makes me mad.
Angry words from the top cop in Clayton County for the gang that two children in their own home.
My heart goes out to that family. I'm as emotional about this as anyone else.
Police now say an unnamed Metro Atlanta gang is behind the murders of a 15-year-old boy and 11-year-old girl in this Libby Lane home early Saturday morning. The chief now says the mom of the two victims recently invited a mom and kids from Tennessee to live with them, but says one of her kids got caught up in gang activity and angered one local gang.
Police tell me that 15-year-old that the gang was targeting wasn't even home when at least one gunman burst into this home early Saturday morning and 15-year-old Davian Coates in one room and his sister, 11-year-old Tatiana, in another room.
Clayton County Police say that 15-year-old somehow fled back to Chattanooga, but gang members even followed him there and engaged in a Authorities there found him, and Clayton County Police worked to get him back into town to get answers from him. Strangers around Clayton County pay their respects to the two children.
I'm hurting as well as you. I understand where you're coming from.
Babies, innocent children.
Both these Clayton County women say they lost their own sons to violence.
I mean, these are children who have children, but it has to stop.
And police also say they and Clayton County deputies have stepped up patrols around Libby Lane while the are still on the loose, Tom.
The arrest of 26-year-old Michael Deshaun White, a fifth-grade teacher at Tony Elementary School, sent unbelievable shock throughout Clayton County. But Michael, a 26-year-old man, had been living a double life. By day, he taught children how to read, write, and solve math problems. But by night, he was a gang member, affiliated with the notorious Rolling 20 Crips. This teacher, trusted by his students, their parents, and the school system, was also a member of a gang responsible for 2 brutal murders. The arrest came after months of investigation. Police had a surviving child witness who helped create a sketch of one of the suspects. They also had surveillance footage from a few days before the murders, showing Michael White inside the Rolling 20 Crips headquarters. The evidence was mounting, and eventually it all pointed to Michael. Upon his arrest, Michael White was indicted on multiple charges, including murder, home invasion, cruelty to children, and violation of the Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. The legal proceedings that followed would bring even more disturbing revelations to light. However, the most shocking revelation was yet to come. Michael had passed 2 background checks when he applied to work as a teacher. No criminal history had shown up, and he had been teaching children at Tony Elementary for almost a year before his arrest. The arrest was made in March 2018 at Tony Elementary, right in the middle of the school day. Parents were shocked, and the district confirmed that Michael had been removed from his position pending an investigation. The community struggled to comprehend how someone who had taught their children and was trusted every day could also be involved in such a heinous crime. After Michael White's shocking arrest, the investigation into the murders of Tatiana and Davian Coates intensified. The community had lived in the dark for over a year, unsure of who was responsible for the senseless killings. But now the pieces of the puzzle were starting to fall into place. Authorities had begun to tie Michael White not only to the murders of these two innocent children, but to the gang that had wreaked havoc on their lives.
Teacher is convicted in the gang of two children. Clayton County prosecutors are telling us how they used video and other evidence to win that conviction. Channel 2 investigative reporter Mark Winnie obtained some of that video.
Michael White, about 9 days before the murders on Libby Lane, inside of the Rolling 20 Crips headquarters in DeKalb County.
There were tears being shed when the first guilty was texted to us.
What we're looking at is Michael White right here in the middle with other gang members.
Michael White led a double life. Teacher of 5th grade children at Tony Elementary in DeKalb County and hardcore Rolling 20s Crips gang member. And that led him into a double of two children, 11-year-old Tatiana Coates and her 15-year-old brother Davion on Libby Lane in Jonesboro, October 22nd, 2016. Say Clayton County Deputy Chief Assistant District Attorney Lakarian Blunt.
He was kicking indoors at night and children and going and teaching children in the morning.
And Assistant DA Sheila Francois.
2 innocent lives were lost.
They had nothing to do with gang activity.
They had nothing to do with gang activity.
Prosecutors Blunt and Francois say Monday a Clayton County jury convicted White of 44 counts, including and gang charges.
Evidence suggested ultimately someone else was the trigger man?
Yes, 2 people.
But he's just as guilty under the law.
Just as guilty. Party to a crime. Once he kicked in that door and ran in that house with a shotgun in his hand, he's guilty as every last other person in that house.
Ms. Blunt says Tatiana and Davion's mom had taken in another family out of the goodness of her heart, but a teen in the family she took in was a Rolling 20s Crip and had stolen guns from the gang's DeKalb County headquarters. And that's what brought White and other gang members to the house where the 2 children were shot to death. Prosecutor Blunt says she used videos and photos showing White with other gang members to establish White's gang membership for the jury, along with a gang roster with White's handwritten name on it. And she and Ms. Francois used witness testimony in the resemblance between a sketch of one of the home invaders and White to put White in the house, though the defense disputed it.
We had 2 co-defendants come and testify.
His lead attorney, Bruce Harvey, said by phone Michael White had successfully embarked on his teaching career after playing college football. Harvey said this case is a tragedy in many respects, but at the trial, the emotion of the situation outran the evidence the state presented. He said several witnesses testified to help themselves, and the defense team will continue to fight the sufficiency of the evidence and what he believes to be an unjustified conviction. Chris Sperry told us he's a prosecutor in Fulton County now, but handled the original Michael White indictment in Clayton County.
It may take several years, but if you are gangbanging in Georgia, the state of Georgia is going to hold you accountable.
Clayton County DA Tasha Mosley credits Clayton County Police with a great investigation, but says society is losing the gang war.
We've got to change as society and understand that the fight is not when they're in high school, or heck, even in middle school. The fight begins the day that they're born.
Mark Winnie, Channel 2 Action News.
As police dug deeper into Michael's connection to the crime, they uncovered his membership in the Rolling 20 Crips. They also found evidence of his direct involvement in the night of the murders. Surveillance footage and witness testimonies painted a clear picture of his double life, teaching children by day, participating in gang violence by night. But Michael White wasn't the only person involved. The investigation revealed that Michael was part of a larger gang operation. Several other members of the Rolling 20 Crips had been involved in the home invasion, although Michael himself was not the one who pulled the trigger that night. Nonetheless, under Georgia law, once Michael kicked down the door and entered the home armed with a shotgun, he was considered just as guilty as the individuals who actually killed Tatiana and Davion. The evidence was mounting, and the case against Michael was becoming clearer with every passing day. But there was still a significant hurdle to overcome. That was convincing a jury of his guilt. The case against Michael White would soon enter the courtroom, where the prosecution was ready to present its evidence and secure a conviction.
This afternoon, we have the mugshots of 9 people now arrested in connection to the murders of 2 local teens, including an elementary school teacher among them here. Channel 2's Matt Johnson live in DeKalb County, where a student's grandmother is coming to the teacher's defense, accused.
This was Michael White's first year as a teacher here at Tony Elementary School, and when parents found out that he was linked to not only 2 but also a gang, they couldn't believe it.
He was an awesome teacher.
Karan Clements is stunned that the same man who taught her 11-year-old grandson is now charged with murdering 2 children.
I would sit in the class numerous times, and just see how he act with the students. He was just perfect with those children. I mean, I just don't understand it.
Authorities arrested 26-year-old Michael White at Tony Elementary School Friday. White is one of 11 suspected gang members named in a more than 50-count indictment announced Thursday.
I'm still shocked about it, but I just don't see his character being part of that situation.
9 people have been charged with the murders of 11-year-old Tatiana and 15-year-old Davion Coates in 2016. Police say the group aimed to retaliate against a 15-year-old named DeAndre Mitchell who stole from their gang.
We believe it might have been a case that they were there searching for DeAndre and thought that he was in one of the beds.
Police insist the Coates children were innocently while they slept at this house on Libby Lane in Jonesboro.
Being that they were visiting with another family, there's no way they could know the harm that was coming their way.
For Karan Clemens, she hopes the truth will eventually come out in court and that the victim's family can get justice.
I hope that the mother of those children gets some comfort and some closure. That is my most overall prayer.
And authorities say that trials regarding this case could begin in the summertime. In the meantime, the school district says White passed a background check in 2017 before he started teaching. Live in DeKalb County, Matt Johnson, Channel 2 Action News.
The legal proceedings revealed the horrific details of what happened that night in October 2016. Prosecutors used witness testimony, including the surviving child's account of the home invasion, to show how Michael and other gang members went to the Coates family home with the intention of retrieving stolen guns and carrying out a violent act of retaliation. Despite the mounting evidence, Michael's defense attorney attempted to undermine the case. His attorney, Bruce Harvey, argued that the witnesses were only testifying to help themselves. He claimed that the emotion surrounding the case had outpaced the actual evidence. Harvey's defense team also contended that Michael wasn't the one who fired the fatal shots and thus shouldn't be held accountable for the deaths of Tatiana and Davion. However, the prosecution countered. They pointed out that Michael's actions that night, including his participation in the home invasion and his connection to the gang, made him just as responsible for the murders as the people who physically killed the children. The law in Georgia doesn't distinguish between the shooter and those who participated in a crime if they were complicit in the act. After a trial that lasted several months, the jury finally returned a verdict. Michael White was convicted of 44 counts, including 2 counts of murder, home invasion, cruelty to children, and violation of the Street Gang Terrorism and Prevention Act. The emotional toll of the case was evident in the courtroom as the families of the victims, as well as the community, sought justice for the lives of the 2 children who had been taken too soon. When the guilty verdict was read, there were tears in the courtroom, tears of relief and sorrow. Prosecutors praised the resilience of the surviving children who had witnessed their siblings' deaths and carried the trauma with them. They also commended the community for standing together in the face of such a tragedy and helping law enforcement piece together the events that led to the arrests.
This represents a continuous collaborative effort between the Clayton County Police Department, the Clayton County DA's office, the Clayton County Sheriff's Department, and all these other agencies that have been named in order to solve the tragic of these children who were innocently sleeping in their beds.
But for Tatiana and Davion's family, no conviction could ever bring back their lost children. The pain of their loss would never be fully healed by the court's decision. However, the conviction of Michael White brought a sense of justice to a community that had been rocked by the knowledge that a trusted teacher had played a role in the deaths of 2 innocent children. As the details of Michael White's double life came to light, the community struggled to reconcile the man they knew with the man who had participated in such a brutal act. He had been a 5th grade teacher at Tony Elementary School, where he was trusted to educate and care for children. His colleagues, parents, and even his students had no idea about the darkness lurking behind his persona. He had passed background checks, which had shown no prior criminal history, and had worked in the school system for several years. To parents and colleagues, Michael seemed like a dedicated teacher. He seemed like someone who cared about his students and their education. His arrest and subsequent conviction shattered that image, leaving parents in disbelief that the person who had been teaching their children could also be involved in such a heinous crime. The district had no way of knowing that the teacher they had hired was secretly involved in gang activity, let alone that he would be connected to the murder of 2 innocent children. The shock was compounded by the fact that Michael had not just been a teacher, but also an active member of a dangerous gang, a gang responsible for a horrific act of violence. His ability to hide his criminal activity behind the facade of a respected educator was chilling and heartbreaking for those who had trusted him with their children. The arrest and conviction of Michael White left the Clayton County community reeling. Parents, teachers, and even students were left grappling with the reality that someone they had trusted had been living a double life, a life involving violence and death. It forced the community to question how well they really knew the people around them and how safe they really were. For Tatiana and Davion's family, the aftermath of the murders has been nothing short of devastating. The loss of 2 children, killed in such a brutal and senseless way, has left a permanent scar on their hearts. The surviving children, who witnessed the violence that night, carry the trauma of that experience with them. Their innocence was stolen, and their lives were forever changed by the events of that horrific night. Michael White's conviction underscored the horrific reality that gang violence can infiltrate even the most unsuspecting places, including schools. His double life as both an educator and a gang member revealed the extent to which violence and criminal activity could remain hidden behind a facade of normalcy. For the children in his class, the betrayal was unimaginable. The man they trusted with their education was the same person responsible for the deaths of 2 young siblings. In the years since, the Coates family have fought to keep their children's memory alive. They have worked tirelessly to raise awareness about gang violence and the impact it has on innocent families. They have also advocated for stronger efforts to prevent young people from being drawn into the world of gangs, hoping to spare other families from experiencing the same heartbreak. As for Michael White, he now faces life in prison for his involvement in the murders of Tatiana and Davion. His conviction serves as a reminder of the dangers of living a double life and the devastating consequences of getting caught up in gang violence. The case of Michael White and the murders of Tatiana and Davion Coates is a tragic reminder of the unpredictable dangers lurking in our communities. The story of how a 5th grade teacher who seemed to embody everything that was good and trusted could also be a member of a violent gang is a sobering wake-up call. It underscores the need for greater awareness of the people around us, the importance of vigilance, and the lasting impact that violence can have on both victims and their communities. As we reflect on this story, let us remember Tatiana and Davion, 2 innocent children whose lives were taken far too soon. Their deaths are a reminder of the horrors of gang violence and the devastating impact it has on families and communities. It is up to us all to ensure that their story is not forgotten, and that we continue to fight for a world where no child is ever caught in the crossfire of violence.
What do you think about it? Let us know what you think in the comments below.
And if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.